The next speaker is helping his customers to find suited technologies and innovations for their challenges. So I would like to invite to stage Dorian from Google. You have the stage, Dorian.
So, hello everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming back from the coffee break. I know the coffee is a lot better than presentation. So, who here works with data? Hands up. Awesome. Who here has someone else prepare the data or stuff related to data for them? Self-service everywhere. Oh my God, I love this. Now I have two more questions and then I'll present, so don't worry, no more. This is not a questionnaire. So when you read this title, does it make you laugh? Cry? Yeah. Why I'm asking this? Because whenever we talk about data and culture, there are two issues. Either you had experiences where you said, oh my God, when I played with data, I found so many interesting things that made my business change. And that should be happy. Or my data was never ready when I had to deliver the report. The data was never clean. I had all these kind of issues that showed up and you don't want to talk about. So this is actually what data and culture go together. I come from Google, and this is something that you should be familiar with. This is the most used page when you're trying the Wi-Fi. And on the bottom here is actually the place where we make a lot of, let's say, insights and revenue. Is pretty much the products that we have. Right now, I think there are 8 or 9 products with more than 1 billion users. I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to give you some insights from what we get from all these products. So what does this mean? Over 1 billion users. It means issues related to data privacy, security, availability around the globe, a lot of content to be delivered and handled. So how do we do this? These are products. I'm not going to talk about them, don't worry. This is just to make you scared about, because there are so many things that you can do with AI and BI and whatever, let's say, mnemonics you can use for it. And there are so many interesting things to do. The idea is that it's not about the products, because the products are there, you can use them, there are open source ones, and the problem is about the culture, how you make sure that you can use what's in here. I like this slide because I was presenting this and I was talking about these things more than 6-8 years ago. And I remember the top 2 ones. Do you remember them? AI, it was machine learning then. BI, AI, whatever. These were the top 2. Why hasn't it changed? What do you think? One opinion. It hasn't changed. Why didn't it change? Because nobody did it properly. Or there are so few of them that did it properly to make advantage of it. And most of the times AI, BI, whatever it was used, or let's say sold to the top management as a project, ended up being a cost issue. So let's get to the 3 challenges that we see here. Data is big, right? This is the name of the conference, big data, right? But it's no longer about terabytes as we were talking 10 years ago, right? It's zettabytes right now. More zeros, right? What does it mean? It means that we definitely started working on unstructured data. We no longer talk about SQL as the core. Again, this is not something new. We're getting more and more interested in real-time data. It means that the streaming is definitely getting used right now and making decisions on top. And right now comes the issue that it's no longer on-premise, that we have also cloud, right? And all of these together in one place. Challenge number 2, SQL. We all like SQL, right? Because we all work with data. SQL is there to stay for a long period of time. The biggest problem, however, is that right now we're also working with unstructured data, and that's so hard to understand and get something useful out of it, even if it compounds, I think, more than 80% of the data that we have and play with on the long term. And let's get to challenge number 3. Data should reach everyone in the organization. I mean, everyone here is playing with data, right? And it's fun, it's a good place. However, why should it reach everyone? You remember the Colgate story, long time ago? when they were trying to boost the sales, and they were just solely selling this toothpaste, and they had no idea how to sell it. And there was like this person who was taking care of a garden. He came with the idea. Uh, most of us put the past on the toothbrush as long as the toothpaste is. So why not make the hole on the toothpaste wider? It will consume more paste, right? So this drives more sales, right? So this is the idea about data and data culture reaching everyone. Usually the brightest idea don't come to the people who access it every day, and these are the data analysts, because most of the time they have a lot of things to do in order to make the processes run, or at least that's what's happening right now. And a lot of ideas come from, let's say, the people who are closer to the business. Toothbrushing is for everyone, at least it should. Now, when we talk about data, this is, let's say, again, figures that I'm not putting together. It's not from Google. It's a lot of Accenture, McKinsey, all of these. I'm trying to put them all together in one deck so we can discuss them and get some ideas from them. 68% of companies are unable to realize measurable value from data, 2019. 10% more or less, I don't think that's dramatic. What does it mean? It means that the issues that we had a long time ago when we started playing with big data, we started data warehouses and so on, are still here today. And we're not making any changes or any improvements. So what I will try to do in the next few minutes is give you some ideas on how to make things faster and a little bit better. I'm not telling you it's the only way or the best way and so on, but it's something that we see and we play with our customers, and at least it gives them some ideas. Data culture. This is such a word. I mean, how many of you have seen or have discussed anything about data culture in your organization? What does it mean? That data should be available in a lot of things, right? But let's go to the definition. I think I like this definition a lot because it touches a lot of the points there. A company-wide attitude that embraces the use of data in everyday decision making. It stems from a belief that data helps everyone perform their jobs better. Data cultures avoid basing strategies on guesswork, and instead root the problem-solving process in reality by pulling information from one standardized single source of truth. I mean, it sounds like the 90s, right? We have this data warehouse, this single source of truth. No, I'll put my dashboards in Tableau or whatever I was looking there. I have my own Excels, and this is a lot better when you have in your data warehouse. You know why? Because then it took 10 days to build a report. By now it's a lot faster, but anyway, it's still it's as complicated as it was then. So why do I like this definition? Everyday decision making. This is very important as a point to take out, because most of the people that we interact with have a lot of issues related to accessing data in a very frequent, new and fresh. I see a lot of people still working with all-up cubes, making decisions on yesterday's or last week's data. Can you relate to it? Do you see it? Maybe no. Data helps everyone, does it? I mean, apart from the people that here are in the room and we play with data and we understand it, a lot of people say, oh no, this data department. They send those crazy reports with 10,000 charts and we cannot read it. I mean, what is the KPI, CAGR? What does it mean for us? How are we going to impact it? I'm exaggerating, of course, but most of this information here can be a little bit of a burden for people who are not used to data. Guesswork. How much of a business today is based on guesswork? You know, people say, oh, data says that I should be investing in this market. No, but I read the news today. It says that that other market is going a lot better. So let's go there. And then who knows what's happening. Standardized single source of truth. I mean, this is something that we are talking about more than 10 years now, right? Did it change? No. Why? Because it's not there. So let's go to the two approaches that we have. First one, very straightforward, 4-step blueprint approach. Planning. Failing to plan is planning to fail, right? That's the approach. And here are just a few points to take home for you to think about, apply, if it makes sense. So gather requirements from key stakeholders. How users actually use the data, what insights they're asking for, how they'll use our insights. And here we have like a nice picture. Data does not equal information, does not equal insight. Or more simple, data does not equal insight. What's our job? To make sure that we put the equal there. Find what are the issues that people are not able to get from data the right information that they need, and from the right information to put it in insights. What does it mean? I have this amount of data that's consuming cloud, on-premise, resources, money, whatever the company is using, and I need to make sure that I grow the business, meet my KPIs, MBOs, whatever I'm going for. And apart from this, start from something that's very easy. Like this form here, again, it's just an example. Can you explain the results of your business unit's efforts to concrete numbers? This gives you an insight about if people are actually using the data. Are they relating on it? Do they have some KPIs they are following, or is just guesswork? Planning. Second, building. You see these charts here? I'm going to go through them just in 1 second. How many of you actually like those nice bubbles running on maps, whatever, and so on charts? You saw them everywhere? No? I enjoy the charts that are like this. Bar charts, no pie charts, please. Trends, maybe some statistics-driven box plots, and so on. But that's it. Why? Data should be meaningful, straightforward, and should answer your questions as fast as possible. And here are just an examples based on the 4 questions there. How the values compare to each other? Make it simple, straightforward. So once I open this chart, I don't need to look at it for 5 minutes to get the insights out of it. Which is the top performance, which is the lowest? Where should I be focusing my business? How the data is distributed? Maybe this is a little bit more in the statistics area, and we're not all interested. But we still get an idea about outliers and focus. What else should we go in there? Well, how values relate to one another. Again, a little bit more in the statistics area. And the last one, what is the data composed of? And here you might have some pie charts, but don't overuse them, please. And again, a lot of ideas that you can play with. So this is pretty much it building. Don't stress on building complex things that are not easy to understand, read in more than a few seconds. Launching. This is where you go in production and you make sure that people that have expressed their needs and you build something easy for them have access to it. Now, this is not it. I've on the things that we evaluate with customers, there are more than 15 or 20 questions there. How will end users understand the vision of the analytics of a company? How will you communicate success metrics? What are the definitions of a metrics? How many of you actually have definitions of a metrics that you have in your dashboards? No? No? Okay. I mean, this is not school, please. Don't. If you don't have it, it's not a problem. The idea is, why is it not there? Is it because the KPIs are well understood by everyone? What happens if you have someone new in the organization? And this was a question that the gentleman had here. What you do with retention? I mean, this is something that we learned that in COVID, retention is something that you don't plan for. It's something that you try to find out how to fix it. So again, once you have things that can be read easily by anyone, that you have definitions for what's there, you can take someone outside the organization and make sure that he learns it very fast. But that's not the end of launching. With launching, you need to get the feedback. How do you find the reports that you need? I don't think it's very easy to read here. It's a button, it's a checkbox here. I cannot read it so close. No, it's confusing. It should be there. People should say, I don't understand anything from your bar charts or your 10 pie charts put together. What do they mean? This is the type of feedback that we should get once we build and launch things. Things that are used for us as data people should make sense for the people that have never seen it or used in the past. Growing. You've launched a part of a business, one workflow, one workload, whatever you name it, then you should be playing to growing. Why? Because there are those people, you know, the ones in the back that say, oh, this system, this will never replace the way that we do our Excel stuff. You know? So this is how you make sure that you also involve them. How can you expand the use cases that you make sure that they are also supporters of you, not the ones that are making, let's say, fun, at least, of your system. And how you grow the data culture supporting with this kind of data ambassador. I mean, I'm trying to be as, let's say, realistic and approachable as possible. That's the idea of a data ambassador, people from the business that are owners of different parts, bits of a data that use it. They know that this is, let's say, their business, and that they are, let's say, responsible how it's going. What do you think of this floor plan? Does it make sense? Yes, no? Let's go for it. This was tackling one simple thing, which is pretty much looking at the historical data, putting it into simple means to people in the business. And now we adopt something, we try to touch something a little bit more complicated, AI. AI is in everything right now. We have 10 AI engines in our phone or whatever marketing is telling us, right? But how is this, let's say, being implemented? So let's try to approach it. We have this cloud AI adoption framework. It's this nice cross, nothing religious about it. It's a matter of putting together and trying to understand from 4 basic perspectives. People, like us here. Processes that are the core of your organization, making it a digital native or an enterprise to, let's say, put different aspects of it. Technology that's in the organization, and data, right? Simple. Now, between any of these two, there's like a connection. Learning, access, security, automation, scaling, and leading. We'll take them one by one so that you understand it very easily what I mean. Now, this is a busy slide. We'll skip through it. The maturity theme is pretty much trying to take all these connections, looking through all of them, and see where the company is. Why? Because this kind of discovery that we go through might show up that there are not the typical issues that we are focusing on, like hiring the best data scientist on the market, getting the best and most expensive tools, but it's a matter of culture related to data access. It's only the data scientists that have access to it, right? So let's take them one by one. All of these aspects are based on a tactical. If we are touching this at this moment as an organization from a tactical point of view, it's strategic or transformational. And what do I mean by this? You'll see that there are usually gaps within the organization. You can relate to your own, to your customers, whatever you're working with. So you can see these kind of approaches and where they have the biggest issue. So the maturity scales. Leading, which means the connection between people and processes. Tactical, usually there's not a clear business goal on what we want to achieve with AI ML. We're trying to experiment with it. There's like limited or no budget. And that's the approach from a tactical point of view. Transformational, the other end, is pretty much where we focus on innovation. We have research teams, and this is pretty much the core of the business that we do. And this is how the processes allow that you get the right funding at the right time, budgets, and so on as fast as possible. How many of you have seen this kind of area in the transformational? Have you seen a lot of organization? Yes, no, maybe. Let's go a little bit in the access. I mean, this is something that we should all relate to. People and data, right? People should have access to data, right or wrong? Right, cool, glad to hear it. Tactical, building a data lake, yay. Usually there's no asset sharing with other data people here in the room that have access to all the data, or pretty much way that it's actually put together. And the biggest problem is that the business stakeholders will never have access to play with what's there. That's the gold mine. That's where they should be playing. Due to GDPR and a lot of other 10,000 issues, they don't have access to the data. Why? Because there's no data culture being built there. So how do you go in the transformation area? You focus on standardized ML feature stores and data sets. Data stores that are curated, that are prepared there, so you don't have any GDPR, any other issues that you're covering, and as well as going the transformation by discovering, sharing, and reusing assets, data or AI across the organization. What does it mean? I have the marketing department. They've built this very nice model for understanding what are the best segments of my organization in terms of customers to focus on for the next year or two. Sales, they have no idea about it. So what are you going to do? Say, this is the place where you put all the assets there. Who are the people who are looking into it? Are there any? And so on. So this is the idea, is making sure that everyone is engaged, sharing and getting everything as easy as possible. Learning. Learning is something that I heard at least 3 times in the last 2 presentations. And this is strictly related between people and technology. People should have access to learning because there are a lot of new things, there are a lot of new approaches, and machine learning is changing dramatically one year after the other. I mean, I was looking for the natural language processing models and how they look like today as compared to how they looked 2 years ago, when I had, let's say, a bit more focus on it. And the explosion of ideas, of things that can be put together, as well as complexity of models, is huge. So are we going on tactical, to put the extreme? No hiring for ML skills. You're just trying to, and correct me if I'm wrong, reuse the people in the BI department as ML engineers. Does it relate to anyone? Third parties cover the skill gap in the organization. Maybe you're covering someone from external. Are they driven by the same KPIs? Mostly not. Self-motivated, isolated learning using online resources in their free time. Or going in the transformational area. Hiring data scientists and ML talent. This is something, because this is, you understand, this is the core of your business. This is what will make you be outstanding as an organization. Let's go a bit further. Security, data and processes. Now, you remember that everyone should have access to the data, right? And this is what most of the people in the room here agree to. But security is making this, let's say, a big headache. If you go on the tactical and how a lot of companies are approaching it, enabling data protection through encryption. So you get a nice table with IDs and 20 encrypted columns. How would that look for a data scientist or analyst? It's useless, right? Implementing private networks with primitive identity and access management, access then managed by a dedicated team that you need to put that you need to call, write an email, and wait 2 days until they fix something for you. Or go in the transformation area where you consider AI safety and robustness. I don't know how many of you are talking in the organization about ethics in AI and if it's the right thing for your organization going forward, and so on. And scaling, data and technology. Now, should be, let's say, the core. I should have started with it. Dedicated hardware for cost control. This is pretty much in the tactical area. We have this sandbox for you data engineers, play with it. And then you'll find out in 2 days, those resources, they don't allow us to build any models. Or we try to build this one and it takes 3 days with the data that we have there. Don't worry, we don't have an additional budget for it. This is what's happening. I mean, this is reality. And if you go in the transformation area, using dedicated tools, GPUs, TPUs, optimized security, and so on, everything that's available for data scientists to make things work. But again, this is on transformational. Automation, technology and processes. This is very important because it allows you to move from ad hoc and a lot of manual pipeline building, covering and trying to see what's happening with them, with high risk associated to them, by going in an important area, which is managing models, registering, reusing of model monitoring, all those ML ops that everyone is talking for a few years now. Now, all these things that you see here are just some ideas to look into with your organization or the ones that you're working with to see where there are the gaps. And again, what's the strategy of a company? Maybe they don't want to go into AI so fast, or they have just a few things to start from. How do you approach it? So what I encourage you in your work, if you see this valuable as an approach, understand where you are as an organization or the organization you play with, set your goals, define the strategy, create a group of leaders, because you need someone to drive the AI across the organization, to be the ones that, let's say, take the decisions and make everything happen. Create a strategy, and again, try to Google a lot of the things. They're already done for you, and they're quite easy to implement. So thank you. And of course, if you have questions, remarks, glad to be here. No questions, don't worry. You can write afterwards, don't worry, but if you have questions now.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. So how do you actually pick out the right people for this? Because data science is a buzzword and everyone thinks they want to do data science.
There's no such thing as right people. I mean, this is my opinion. You need to start with an agenda, where you want to go to, and you find people who can support you. The people can be outside, you need to hire them, or you can find the supporters inside. And I think the most important is to find the supporters both a few levels lower, as well as close as possible to management. Why? Because management will make sure that they find some resources to guide it, because they believe in this AI, whatever AI is translated in your business. And the second is to find the right resources around you, because they have a lot of ideas already that can be implemented. So upskilling, again, this was pretty much like a joke, upskilling BI people. But again, if there are a lot of people motivated to learn, these things are so new that learning is for everyone. As well as in the business area, define new initiatives that will drive AI. And we see this happening all the time.
Thank you.
So it's great that you've shared this based on the Google learnings and findings of the BDN Plus products. Now, I'm curious if you were involved in these kind of engagements with the customers of Google Cloud, and how long did it took to, go through this journey? Because it seems to take a lot, right?
It's a good point. Now, the reason why you see this presentation is because I've had this question in different formats over the last year or so. And people are asking, how can I build the AI or data analytics team? What are the right roles of people to have in my organization? How should I approach it? Should I have someone in each department? Should I have a centralized island for whatever, and so on? And this is something that at least we were running with a few customers this year. This is something that we do as an approach, at least the Cloud AI Adoption Framework, running through this kind of workshop. It's a couple of days, then you share the insights, and then we work together on how to approach it. How to approach it and implement it, it's a matter of motivation, because it can start as a program that can be rolled out quite easily in terms of technology changes in processes, hiring people, building teams, etc. Or it can take years because the company is not ready and you still need to find all the other people. But usually this can be quite fast in terms of implementation as long as there's motivation for it.
And there were like so many steps of activation, like building. Does Google offer this kind of support, this kind of teams that support, implement this kind of culture changes?
Now, this is also a very good question in terms of how we do it. Why? Because if you look at Google, you think about all these nice tools, right? Open source and so on. So the idea is that we're moving a lot into the business area. We have a lot of projects, and unfortunately, it's not the scope of a presentation today, to see how we actually change the way that you think business and how you change, for instance, how you approach, let's take banking, the KYC process. Let's take energy, how you optimize the way that you manage your wind farm. Let's take telco, how do you deploy properly a 5G network, and so on. So these are places where AI and the work that we have is being deployed. And I think it's useful to ask the question, how can I improve it? How can I make it better? And this is where you start from, and this is where you can actually get a lot of insights.
So earlier, one of the participants mentioned that in his opinion, IBM is one of the best in business-to-business environment. And as I've seen earlier also Microsoft in the room, I will have a question for you. Based on your background, which I know it includes IBM and the SAS Institute, could you try to describe the differences in AI adoption between at least IBM, Microsoft, and Google, from your opinion?
I have a very biased opinion, so I'll not go for it. I'll go around it. So my opinion, and I'll put it blank, is that it's not a matter of which is best, is the one that fits the organization in terms of roles, approaches, tools, and so on. And what do I mean by this? Right now we're working with two types of companies generally. Digital natives, these are companies that are doing everything in the cloud from the start, and there are a lot of businesses that I've never heard before jumping and working with them. A lot of solution making billions a year. And enterprise companies. For enterprise companies that you take one data warehouse to negotiate how to approach it more than 1 year, that's one approach. For digital natives, they say, this is my data, I want to play with it. What do you suggest for this approach? And in 2 weeks, they'll find the model and say, let's start the process. How do I get up and running with you? How do I sign? Where do I get the things? How to optimize it? And this is why I said that it's a matter of understanding the customer and making sure that you can relate to it with the right processes. AI adoption framework is very useful, especially in the enterprise, where you get a lot of bottlenecks. But we never have this kind of discussion with digital natives because they are driven. They know that whatever they do today might not be relevant tomorrow because the business is changing so much and their company might not be worth anything. So this is why changing the way that we approach is very important. To get to your question, which is, let's say, the best approach, and I think is that once you're trying to understand and make sure that the enterprise companies that get these bottlenecks are able to change to a digital natives mentality inside the organization, that's when you actually implemented something right for them. It doesn't matter the organization that you come from.
Thank you.
If no further questions, then thank you very much. I will hear here.